So, guys, I hate to say it, but Dawn Richard was destroyed on the stand today. Um, Miss Westmoreland was asking her, so did you pretend to do, you know, D's with Diddy? And she said, yes. She said, oh, so that was a facade. She said, have you seen Diddy do the boog shug? She said she never told the government that she saw him do the boog shug. You told the government you never saw him do the boog shug. Testimony has changed quite a few times, Miss Westmoreland said. As time goes on, your story seems to change. And Dawn literally said yes. So,
wow. So, guys, we're talking about Don Richard, who happens to be one of the key witnesses in the Diddy case. Now, I understand this. There are people who are reporting on this whole thing, and they understand that they have an audience and they have to maintain a certain level of emotional connection with their audience. I'm interested in individuals who are inside the courtroom, and the question I want to know is, are they getting closer to proving that he's guilty of trafficking and racketeering? And this doesn't seem like this went that well for Don Richards.
And then another one stop. That's the D dealer who would bring Diddler his substances. But the thing is, Dawn said, yes, I saw Diddy buy it from him. But then in the testimony, the cross-examination, she says she never actually saw him give the money, but saw assistants give money. So you see the loopholes these lawyers deal with. So the assistant gave the money, but not Diddy. And the lawyer said, so that was a lie. Another story change. Yes, different. She texted Diddy. Also, she wanted to get back into business with him. And everybody keeps saying, if Diddler threatened your life, why would you ever want to go back? And again, this just shows, the level of assault, the level of how bad you want your dream. And the Diddler was a gatekeeper to it all. So even though she had been through all that stuff, she still was willing to go back. I'm going to go back in, guys. I got to get back in the court building.
You see, that's the thing, right? I see so many people who are really passionate about all this. I think Diddy's a monster as well. But a lot of people sit there thinking to themselves, if I was in that situation, I'd have done something different. You're seeing key witnesses here who still wanted to engage in business with Diddy even after what they saw him do. I mean, was she being manipulated as well? What do you say to that? Next, here we have an attorney who goes into deeper questions about Don's testimony. Her video here is captioned, hits emotionally, but does it prove anything? Let's check it out.
Dawn took the stand, but what exactly did her testimony really prove? Let's be real. It wasn't trafficking. It wasn't RICO. So why does it matter? I'm Stuana Dasari. I'm an experienced prosecutor who's tried SA cases as well as trafficking cases. So here's my take on Dawn's testimony. You remember Dawn from Danity Kane. She was a former Danity Kane singer. And when she testified, her continued testimony today, she told about instances where she saw Diddy allegedly beat Cassie, and based on her testimony, made a threat to her and several witnesses. Now, the most shocking was a 2009 incident where Diddy allegedly tried to hit Cassie with a skillet. Then he beat her and dragged her. And afterwards, he threatened her and another witness saying, quote, people go missing when they talk. Now, let that sink in. That's not drama. That's intimidation, or at least that's what the prosecution is saying. But defense attorney Nicole Westmoreland, I thought she did a great job trying to discredit Dawn by saying she didn't tell prosecutors this statement earlier on in her interviews with prosecutors. They also hit on the fact that she wasn't doing well in her career as a artist. And they also, what I thought was pretty good on their part, brought up the fact that Dawn contacted Diddy after experiencing all of this, after seeing this, after this allegedly being threatened. She actually called Diddy to work with him again. And so Attorney Westmoreland was able to bring that out. Now, regardless to whatever side you fall on regarding how helpful Dawn's testimony was or not, and if you're one of those people who think that her testimony was heavy, it doesn't automatically prove trafficking or racketeering. But I tell you what, it does prove something else. Her testimony directly supports Cassie's violence claims.
Yeah.
It helps show a pattern of physical abuse, and it helps the jury to say maybe, just maybe, Cassie was scared. Maybe she didn't feel safe to leave. And maybe that is the reason for her delayed reporting. That's the key to credibility and to explaining Cassie's long silence. Now,
I mean, none of us can deny the fact that Cassie was in a very, very abusive relationship. We're talking about physical. Because I see comments that people will say, there was no abuse. I'm like, dude, when I see people leave those comments, I'm like, there was abuse. Now, was it trafficking? Is the question, right? At what point was she okay with the sexual things that were going on? And at what point might have it become that she was afraid of her life if she was to stop participating in those freak offs? That's what they're going to have to prove, is that she was forced to do those things.
Now let's talk about trafficking. That charge requires force, fraud, or coercion used to push someone into commercial sex acts. Now, I keep telling you guys in my earlier posts that sex trafficking does not just involve handcuffs. Remember, handcuffs can also be the ones that you don't see, which is mental handcuffs. So Dawn's testimony is basically corroborating that Cassie didn't feel free to leave, and her participation in these FOs were done by coercion or fear. Dawn doesn't say anything. She doesn't say anything about the FOs or that she witnessed any S parties. So her value there indirect at best. Same with Rico. To prove that, prosecutors need an organized criminal enterprise with repeated illegal acts, and they do not show that through Dawn's testimony.
Right.
Her story shows that Diddy was violent, maybe even threatening if you believe her story, but that's not the same as showing he ran a coordinated criminal network. So bottom line, Dawn helps the prosecution emotional story, not necessarily their legal burden. And she makes Cassie look believable, more credible, but she's not the key, as you probably have already pieced together, to locking in on trafficking or RICO. So if you're watching this trial closely, don't confuse impact with proof. Follow for real courtroom breakdowns without the hype, just the facts. Again, my name is Dewana Dasari. I am an experienced prosecutor and co-host of Minority Crimes Podcast. Like, share, or follow. Thank you.
All right. So there's a lot there, man. There's a lot. No matter how much you feel about anybody involved in this case, this is going to present a lot of questions. You guys already know mine. I think it's ridiculous that only one person's getting charged here in any of this, even the DV stuff. There were bodyguards that were participating in bringing Cassie back in those situations. We know that there are other executives within the music industry. Diddy cannot be the only person who was participating in these freak offs if they get deemed as some form of trafficking. And then I have questions about what is defined as mental handcuffs. And is it possible that men can also be victims to that? I really want to know. Because not too long ago, the last conversation we had was about how buying a plane ticket and flying a woman to you for the purpose of you being sexual with her could be labeled as trafficking. I wonder how the definitions of all these things would change as time goes forward. Maybe they'll become more clear, or maybe it benefits the powers that be to make sure that they muddy the waters or leave the interpretation up to the public or the court systems so that they can maintain control. Of course, guys, curious to know what you think. I don't think Diddy, in my last video I released, somebody said Diddy was going to walk. I don't think he's going to walk, especially after all the confirmed DV situations that have taken place. He's going to get charged for something. I think the question now is just what. Listen, guys, to my currently engaged or listen to my guys, as always, to my currently engaged men, and those of you who are soon to be married, maybe you're proposing soon, remember, if you need a prenuptial agreement but don't know where to start, head over to fathershaverights.com and access the #1 guide to drafting a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement. The guide assists you with the questions you should ask, the mistakes you should avoid before you hire your attorney. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.